We are ready and we are live on Facebook and welcome back again. It's day 4 or day 5, I think I've lost track. Lee Kelson coming to you live from the Australian Embassy in Jakarta.
Yeah.
We're very privileged to be here and I have with me Alistair Cox, the acting Australian Ambassador here in Jakarta. Welcome to Beach City, Alistair.
Yeah, thanks you very much for the opportunity to have a chat this morning.
It's a pleasure. We're here for a pretty important event this morning. This is all about youth.
Yes.
And the collaboration of youth between Indonesia and Australia. Can you tell us just a little bit of background about the what this forum is about and what hopefully the outcomes are?
Well, the Embassy has staged this forum over the last couple of days for young people from Australia and Indonesia. Some of them are people who've already come back from Australia. They're Indonesians who've studied in Australia. Some of them are program participants in what we call the New Colombo Plan, which is an Australian program to get young people over to Asia and to Indonesia or other countries. Some of them are doing long scholarship programs. Some of them are doing what we call mobility, short course type programs, and getting them together to see where the potential is to collaborate, particularly in the digital economy. The last couple of days, the Embassy has been staging with Indonesian partners a digital forum to explore the potential for Australia and Indonesians to collaborate more in the whole digital economy.
Yeah.
There's a tremendous amount of potential, I think, in the digital economy in both countries. And this program today is to try and get the youth angle on that,
Right.
to get the younger people to sort of take inspiration from some of the things they've seen, the ideas they've seen, some of the pictures they've seen that have been made in the digital forum, and to think how could we get into that? How could we work as Australians, young Australians and Indonesians, to sort of create some new value?
Yeah.
So that's what today's about.
Yeah.
It's about soft skills, about some of the things, not what you learn at uni
Yeah.
or learn at college, but what sort of, how do you collaborate together? How do you realise potential?
Yeah.
So that's really what today is all about. And I think, what kind of ideas could you then develop and then pitch to get access to some finance, maybe to start up a business?
Yeah.
and take it from there. So it's all about working across cultures and with other people. So that's what today is about.
Yeah, well, we covered 2 days at the Digital Summit, and we've really been blown away by the potential and the opportunity in Indonesia, but also that openness and collaboration that's happening with Indonesia and Australia. And I think that I spoke to someone yesterday who said, that Australia's hopefully going to be able to show Indonesia share some ideas about how we do things. It appears to me, from talking to a lot of people yesterday, that
The opposite.
we've got a hell of a lot to learn from Indonesia.
Yes.
The enthusiasm, the excitement that seems to be here, particularly in the ecosystem and around the young people.
Yeah.
And more importantly, what's impressed me is that having interviewed many people in many places around Australia and other parts of the world in startup and ecosystems, it tends to be applying the innovation entrepreneurship to the next coffee app or the next ride sharing app. But here they seem to be putting their minds to solving real problems,
Yes.
social problems,
Yes.
but enabling those as sustainable entrepreneurial activities.
Yes. Well, there's a tremendous potential for social entrepreneurship in both countries, and I think we can see already people are turning their minds to how to use the new technology and the data obtained from it to really begin to solve some important social issues. Problems of remoteness, problems that remaining sort of poverty pockets that exist in both our countries. We both have remote communities who are often left behind. So how can digital technologies and the information therein help to overcome some of the problems of health, of education, of social inclusion?
Yeah.
that face these communities.
Yeah.
Particularly in eastern Indonesia, we find those problems. In central and remote Australia, we have those problems too.
Yes.
So I think there's a lot of potential for that, and I think a lot of young people are motivated to find solutions to social problems. They want to go beyond just banking and finance, and just IT for its own sake, to, okay, what is the social value of what we're doing?
Yes.
How can we make something of that, and how can we help other people, and so that all of us are benefiting from the new information, the new communications tools that we have.
Yeah. So interestingly, I read a World Economic report in 2016, and it ranked the skills, the top 10 skills required, I think back in 1995, for example, and then it had projections forward for 2020. And the dramatic change in those skills, the top 3 skills in 2020 are going to be critical thinking, problem solving and creativity. And certainly in my life, that's been the cornerstone of entrepreneurship. Do you think we're doing enough in that space around creativity, or is our education system structured in such a way that perhaps it sucks some of that creativity out of our youth?
I think we've recognised in the last decade or so the vital importance of a whole range of soft skills in terms of collaboration, working together, that it's not just good enough to have technical skills and good university or college learned skills, but you need to work together with people. You need to stimulate creativity. You need to create ecosystems and spaces where people with different skill sets can collaborate, because nobody can do everything themselves. So I think we have recognised that. I think you're right, perhaps in the past there has been too much focus just on technical, sort of red brick, academic red brick sort of college learnt skills.
Yes.
But I think that is beginning to change, and I think workshops that we're having today are a small part of that bigger ecosystem of encouraging people to collaborate and develop the soft skills to work together, and in this context particularly across cultures.
Yes.
And to realise that in an enormous country with a large population of young people, many of whom are looking outside for ideas and are stimulated to grow and to build themselves, like in Indonesia. We're trying to encourage people to sort of break out from perhaps fixed mindsets about what Indonesia is too, Bali, or it's just, there's sort of fixed mindsets about what Indonesia is, and I think coming here, working with Indonesians, exploring the potential for collaboration, shows people what opportunities there are and who people are, and break their stereotypes.
I think we're definitely seeing that, and that's fantastic. So, I mean, traditionally Indonesia and Australia have been great partners in what I would suggest is the old world economy, mining, services, agriculture, that type of thing. Now we're very rapidly moving into this new world and this new digital economy. And obviously countries like Indonesia face challenges like all countries do, but what do you see as the main challenges of moving this economy into that new digital world?
Well, I think Indonesia has been very similar to Australia in the past. Both of us have been large commodity exporters and still are.
Yeah.
And that's as a result of that, I think we've often been selling to the same markets, and people often say, our economic relationship is underdone. Well, partly the reason for that is because we've both been trading with the same markets and we've both been sort of selling the sort of same things to the same overseas destinations.
Yeah.
But I think the future portends a lot more potential, particularly in the service industries and in the creative industries, because Indonesia is growing. Its middle class is expected to be what they call consuming class by 2030, anywhere between 100, 120 million, 135 million or more, depending on how rapidly Indonesia grows.
Wow.
So a lot of people are keen to buy new services, everything from travel to education, healthcare, new financial and other services. Media services, yep.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of potential for growth in a whole range of these service industries. And a lot of them are potentially being provided by startups and new providers, where barriers to entry are lower. A lot of information, a lot of service can be provided through electronic and digital platforms, and I think a lot of younger entrepreneurs are saying that the big groups, in both countries, the big houses they're holding their markets, largely for themselves with existing relationships. And so they're looking for new business potential, and we see that. So SMEs in both Australia and Indonesia are potentially exploding into this space, and I think that's one of the things that we've been trying to encourage over the last couple of days here at the Digital Forum, and now with this workshop extension to some of the young people to sort of realise those potentials.
And one of the things I've noticed in going to a lot of these summits over the last particularly 3 or 4 years is, and it struck me, and part of my motivation for Beach City was that we were sitting around tables discussing the future, and it seemed to be there's an absence of the youth at the table. And I sort of, I guess in my mind I thought, well, it's a bit like the parents deciding what the kids are going to do in the future without actually involving the kids. So this sort of thing I think is imperative. If there are people out there in Indonesia or in Australia that do want to get involved in something like this, or there's future workshops like this, what's the best way for them to reach out to the embassy here in Jakarta?
Well, I think we've very much got an agenda running now to try to build the links in the digital space between Australians and Indonesians. So I think our Trade Commission, the Australian Trade Commission based here in Jakarta, will be sort of actively involved in it. The Indonesian side has got a big conference planned in May in Bali, the World Conference on Creative Economy, and I encourage people to look into that, because the creative economy is about everything from design to film, fashion, and it also links into the digital space, because the way that all these creative industries are conveyed. So that's another vehicle, and I encourage people to look into what this World Conference is about, and maybe consider registering and participating. And we will certainly continue this agenda, because I think looking ahead in the next couple of decades, stimulating this kind of interaction between young entrepreneurs, new business players in the digital and creative industries is where the growth is. I think it's very easy to say, all of the economic growth is in things like bulk commodities and so forth. The reality is the future economy is going to be made up of networks of aggregations of much smaller things. They're often harder to see initially, but in a decade or two hence, you look back and you say, what a creation has come out of a whole range of linkages between smaller entrepreneurial activities, and that's what we're seeding the ground for now.
Okay, so we'll put some links in the bottom of this. If you're interested, you can comment and contact us through Beach City. Thank you very much, Alistair, for speaking with us this morning. We're going to have lots more interview with some of the youth. We're going to be filming some of the workshops that they're doing there a little bit later on. So stick around. Don't forget, watch us at Beach City Life, and you can also look us up on YouTube. Just search for Beach City. Thanks again, Alistair.
Thank you very much. Great.
Cheers.
Thank you.